Okay, welcome back to the Crazy Courage podcast, where we have business stories, professionals, entrepreneurs, business owners, and just wonderful guests of all time that are out there slogging it day in, day out, trying to figure it out for their journey. I'm here with other guests. We've got Sean Nagasar. This guy, I'm gonna admit, he's a little bit on my wavelength. I was showing him that I'm wearing the Captain America t-shirt, so we can kind of geek out. He's wearing his Venom t-shirt there, right? So a couple nerds hanging out together. So we're probably gonna have some pretty nerdy stuff to talk about, just as a warning. But Sean got some really interesting things that he's working on. He's currently selling a lot of collectibles, and he goes to a lot of events, but he's also trying to get into the event planning space for these kind of events as well. And from what I understand, Sean knows all the local celebrities, which is really exciting. So without further ado, Sean, please tell me what it is exactly that you do with 8-Bit Shinobi. Tell me all about it. What is it?
All right, so what we do, we sell collectibles, and we also offer gaming services. So when we do comic conventions, we try to promote it. We get people to try out games, and we got a ton of games like actually have one here, Streets of Rage. So this is the limited edition game. It's like one of the more harder to find games. So once they're out, they're like over $100 to $200 to get it. So we have them available to play for our guests so that they could have something to try it out. We have like Dragon's Lair. I have Samurai Jack, the old Star Wars games. I even have the Pod Racer. A lot of fun. We have arcades here. One has like over 5,000 games on it. Yeah.
Now, so this is stuff that you're doing at conventions, local pop culture type conventions, the Comic Cons, the Fanaticon. You just do local conventions? How far do you go?
The furthest we went is Brockville. We're hoping next year to do more big ones. We're hoping to do Montreal and Toronto. A lot of vendors are telling me that they're making a lot of money there, so we're trying to hit those. And then one day we're hoping to hit San Diego and all the bigger conventions. I keep on hassling them, so maybe one day they're going to be like, oh, that guy sounds interesting.
There you go. Never give up. Now you sell collectibles as well, right?
Yep.
So give me an example. What kind of collectibles do you sell?
So trading card games are very popular. We got like a ton of Funko Pops. The Funko Pops are very popular. I sell collectible games. We got a lot of He-Man toys. They're very popular.
What do you sell the most? What's most popular, like right now?
Funko Pops and the Pokemon, they sell a lot. Like, I remember some conventions, within the first hour, I'm out of Pokemon cards.
Really? So Pokemon's still going that strong after all these years. Wow. And Funko Pops are everywhere. Like every time I turn around, there's a new Funko Pop of a new character. They're just pumping those out everywhere. I've seen walls of these things where they're just different characters, just thousands. It's insane.
And what people don't know about them, maybe to educate people a little bit, is that you always want to look for the ones with the stickers on them.
Okay.
Because they're the exclusive ones. Those are the ones that are like specific to a store or a brand or something. It's like it's like the limited edition one. And then you have the one that's even more limited, the Chase one, which is like 1 in 50 boxes has one. Those are going to be the ones that you want to look for, because the ones that aren't are just common that you'll probably get 5, 10, 15 bucks for. But like the exclusive ones, especially the con exclusive ones, those sell for a lot. Like I've sold some for like 100 and plus.
I didn't realize they went for that much. So the Funko Pops are, for those that don't know, are kind of small dolls with big heads. And they're very cartoony, comic looking.
The P-Wop.
Well, there you go. Perfect. And in collectibles, again, I know this, I'm sure Sean knows this, but for folks we're just tuning in, don't know anything about collectibles, it's all about supply and demand, right? So scarcity is big. If you're trying to sell something that's worth something, just because it's old, doesn't mean that it's worth anything if it's not scarce, if it's easy to get a hold of. And it also has to be something that people want, right? So it has to be demanded. Another thing is the condition. Collectibles condition is huge, 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 huge. Right? Sean, I don't know much about Funko Pops themselves. Now, if you take them out of the box, I assume that brings the value right down, right?
So that really depends. I've never heard of it because, like, it's not like they're sealed in a way that anyone would know. And, like, there are ways of, like, opening it without anyone ever knowing. Like, if you sell it out of the box or the box is damaged, I think
Yeah.
that's the only time you'd see any deductions, but I never really open them. For me, they're just decor.
And then, right, so condition, like I know comic books myself, cards, the condition of those things is paramount to the value of these things. If you got an old comic but it's all beat up, it's really not going to hold nearly as much value as something that's in near pristine condition. Same as cards, and even with cards, like you have to be centered. Just the condition is
Yeah,
very,
I
very.
think the cards are the strictest I find because in comic books, it's based off of the coloration, if there's damage. But whereas in cards, if like there's a manufacturer defect and it's like off centered or whatever, that gets a deduction for that. But comics, it's not really a deduction unless there's some sort of wear and tear to it.
Right.
I think Funkos are that too. There's some Funkos that I noticed that had the manufacturer detail where right here the bottom plastic part had like holes in them. I thought they were like damaged, but they were like, no, that's how they all came out.
Okay, interesting. And that's stuff you have to know, right? That's stuff that you can't just be like, oh, I want to start investing in collectibles of some kind and just buy a bunch of stuff because they're old or because it says collector's item on it. Like, you really have to know what's going on. Like,
And
you can't.
sometimes you're learning as you go too. I've been collecting comics for over 30 years. And I just learned because I'm more of the age where it was made of the paper. So when I restarted, they have that newsprint, and some of them I didn't bag right away or put away, and I noticed that there was like a little like foldy type thing where it was all weird. And then one guy was telling me the reason that is because of the material that they use to make the comic books.
Yeah.
The heat kind of warps it a little bit. So when you put it in your comic books with your other comic books, it presses it into place.
I see.
Kind of like when you're collecting cards. If you have
Right.
a foil card, you want to put it in one of these sleeves right away because they'll get like a little warp. But like the best way is to have it in one of these. It's plastic. You can
Right.
drop this sucker and it won't damage your card.
And that's what's great, right? Because you do want to, it's great to have a card in good condition, but you want to maintain that condition. That's the key. There are a few different companies now that will grade cards and comics and other collectibles, and they're grading more and more. And what I mean by grading is that there will be people that use a scale. Usually, it's about 10-point scale. We'll say they'll
Yeah,
get into
most of them will never be a 10. It'd be like, I think like a 9.8 or 9.9 at the most. I mean, if you're
Right.
really, really lucky, you can get a 10.
Yeah, super rare, right? And then what they do is companies that grade them, what they'll do is they'll encapsulate them so that they're in a sealed case, essentially. So the
I
grade
wish I
won't.
brought mine out. They're like buried. I have a bunch of my signed stuff when Stan Lee was doing his last appearance. I got
Right.
all these vintage comic books and very popular ones. I spent like over $1,000 and got him to sign every one of them. I even got the first appearance of Rhino. I got that signed and it's like encapsulated with the yellow seal that says it was saying all the all the information about the comic book is on that label.
And then just so people know, the first appearance of Rhino, that's from the 60s, right? That's an
Yeah,
older comic.
and it was
It's
actually
pretty cool,
written by Stan.
right? And since Stan Lee has passed away, you cannot get that signature anymore, which makes it more scarce. And I think his signature is still in demand. If you have some sort of collectible that's signed by him, usually for something that he's worked on, you're probably looking at a bit of a premium.
All
Do
right.
you have a preferred grading company?
I did use CGC and CBCS.
Yeah.
The never had problems except one time they lost my Star Wars comics. So I'm thinking of going back to CGC instead.
That's an interesting thing, right? So if they lose one of your comics, like your collectible,
Hmm.
I mean, I guess it's a two-part question. So what do they do for you, and how do they value the item that they lost?
Well, realistically, they should, like, when you do the invoice with them, you put the amount of it on it, and then you pay for the insurance.
All right, so you're doing the events. You're doing a lot of conventions. You're selling a lot of collectibles. Now you sell the collectibles on your website and on Facebook Marketplace
Facebook
for the most part.
Marketplace, we also have our own Facebook page. We
Yes,
have our own comic books buy and sell. I was the first one to make that in Ottawa.
like
Now
that's
there's,
a Facebook group.
yeah,
Is that
there's over a
oh,
thousand,
oh nice? Is now you do others. Now you're talking about getting into event planning too, right? You started dabbling in that area.
yeah, that's one thing we're working on. We do have our party rental services, and we're also looking to book guests for conventions, events. I know a lot of famous celebrities because I go to a lot of these events. Like I met Geoff Isherwood, Marvel comic books artist. He's worked on DC. I've had him on my show. I met voice actors like Stephanie Nadolny from Dragon Ball Z. I also met Chuck Huber, who voices Pilaf. So
Yeah.
I reach out to all these businesses or conventions. Would you like to have this person at your event? We're able
Yeah.
to book Stephanie Nadolny so she'll be at PopX next year, 2025.
So, all right, here's what I want to understand, and this is just my own curiosity. I don't understand how that model works. So, when you're booking or helping to book these guests, like, do you get some sort of commission from that? How does that work? Do you have a fee?
That's what I'm working on to do right now. I'm trying to build my street cred. So I'm
Right.
helping friends out with their events. So I'm just, trying to get my cred out. But if I were to ask Comic-Con, I would ask them for money because I know they have money. Yeah.
Okay, so let's talk. So this is all stuff that you're working on. That is fantastic. I love it because as a fellow geek, I really do appreciate all the stuff that you're doing. So let's go back in time. Like, how far back do we have to go to really find the origin or the point that you started getting into collectibles? What kicked you off on this journey?
My uncle liked comic books, so he took me to my first comic book shop, and I was really into X-Men. So one of my favorite characters on X-Men was Cable, the time traveler. He would shoot someone right off a building. He wouldn't just put them in jail. He's like, "You're a threat. You gotta go." I kind of like that. He's kind of like the bad guy, but more of a good
Right.
guy too. So I saw that he had his own series, so I started collecting there.
So how old were you back then? How old are you when you start getting into
I
comics?
think I was 5 or 6.
5 or 6, so that young. Wow.
So I was just like fascinated with reading. Like I would want to read everything and I would like to learn anything that I could. So I'd just look through books. And then when the internet came along, that made things so much easier to find info.
Now, Sean, I can appreciate your story because I'll tell you a little bit about myself. When I was a little young dude, young tot, I got into comic books as well. And I really did not enjoy reading novels at all. Like, I read them for book reports in school because I was forced to. But other than that, I did not read novels when I was a kid. I couldn't get into like chapter books or whatever. I hated them. But I loved comic books. And I was reading all the comic books I could get my hands on. I was going to comic book stores. I was going back in the day. You used to get them at the corner stores and all sorts of
In
places.
the drugstores on the rack.
Right, that kind of spinner racks. That's where I was buying the comic books from, right? And what happened was I was reading my comic books. My parents were trying to convince me to read books and novels and stuff, and I was showing them like, look, when you're looking at these comic books, like I was showing them like the narration and the word bubble and stuff. Like some of this is actually intelligently written, right? Just I mean, sure, a lot of it is fun garbage, but a lot of it is also has some depth to it, and is actually some good reading material I
I
can learn from.
remember watching, I think, I don't know if it was a documentary or something, but like all these famous scholars were saying that it's like a different level of reading because you have to read both the words and the pictures to figure out what's going on.
I mean, look, it's you use your imagination to maybe make those pictures have motion, and I understand that's not the same as like a novel where you're just fully using your imagination. Totally get it. But for me, that was my way of reading. My parents said, "Look, fine, we're not going to fight him. This is what we're going to do." Now, and look, that was a long time ago, and now I kind of have a balance between reading those kind of sequential art, comic books kind of stuff, and I do read a lot of novels, fiction, nonfiction, all sorts of stuff. So I kind of read everything all the time, But back then, that was my thing. I hated school. I hated reading. Comic books were my thing. It kind of got me through it. It was great. Let's get back to you. You were like 5 or 6. You got into comic books, and then was that all she wrote? Like that's it. You're like, all right, I'm hooked. I love this.
Yeah, got everything from playing the video games. I had all the toys. Me and the buddies were play X-Men. I remember like we lived out in the woods, so we had to bike to get everywhere. So I'd always pretend that my bike was like one of those Star Wars speeders, and I'd
That's awesome.
make the noise. And then in high school, I started writing about all
Okay,
these characters. So I made up characters. I wrote stories about them. And
that's
sometimes
awesome.
I would get like my ideas by looking at my figures and kind of like using that to get like an idea of how to make the story. So I was like kind of inspired by that and the comics that I read.
I was saying like novels are the kind of literature that you read when you just want to use your imagination. But I was like you, it's same sort of thing where I read a lot of comic books, and that kind of kicked off my imagination. So I was drawing all sorts of stuff, creating all these characters. So it kind of spurred my imagination. Yeah, and I get it. When you're reading comic books or those kind of illustrated types of literature, using less of your imagination in terms of visualizing characters because you're already on the page, and so you're more appreciating the art on the page. And I get that. But same as you, it kind of spurs the imagination, so it gets me to think more. And I put the comic book down, and then my imagination keeps going. It was a lot of fun. I always love that kind of stuff.
Yeah, and then my next thing, I really liked the trading card games. Like I really liked using the strategies. I remember I'd spent hours just looking at the cards and like reading their. They'd have like a text about the story or whatever.
Yeah,
And it was just fascinating. And then like learning different card games. Like I remember playing the Marvel card game as a kid. Then I learned Magic. Then I learned Yu-Gi-Oh. I had Pokemon, but I never learned how to play it
no, right?
until I was a grown man. Like I want my daughter to play it, so I'm like trying to learn how to play.
Nice. So, which one's your favorite?
I'd say Yu-Gi-Oh used to be my favorite, but
Yeah.
I'm going more towards Pokemon
Oh,
because
you're
I
getting
feel
into
like they've changed it so much.
it. You're having fun, and now it's great because now you're some way to connect with your kids as well, which is
Yeah, and
fantastic.
also the community too. It brings everyone together. I remember the days of Pokemon Go. It was like your unofficial family that you'd go out and see every day.
Yeah, I find the geek community they're always fun people for sure. Usually pretty welcoming. you're a collector, right? You're a reader, you're a game player, all that stuff. When did you start selling?
I think it was when I was 25 in my college years to try to make money. I would buy and sell my collection to get new stuff
And
or
you're still
just to
doing
make
it?
money to do something, you know?
Wow. And you're still doing it today, right?
Yeah, we're doing it on a bit larger scale with the conventions.
For sure. Do you sell everything in your collection, or do you have stuff that you won't sell because it's too personal?
My graded comic books, I wouldn't sell it. It's something that I'd pass on. There's kind
Okay.
of like, family heirloom. Stan Lee signed that. And I'm like, I grew up watching the cartoons with him narrating it. I got Kevin Conroy signed and like, I met him and then I met him again and he like remembered my name. They're kind of like your friends that, that you don't see very often. But when
Yeah.
you see them, you're happy to see them.
And at the end of the day, it's just fun. And I've heard the new term that I heard this week actually was called kidulty. And that had to do with the fact that a lot of toys these days, like the Lego sets, the Funko Pops, a lot of them are purchased by adults. There's a huge percentage of these things being purchased by adults. I know so many people, and I've seen so many people that just buy Lego sets, and they go buy a set and keep it because they're gonna take it out of production. Maybe they'll build them. They still love building them. It's still a lot of fun. So it's adults doing that, reliving their childhood, and they love it. It's such a huge thing now. Is that the same thing for you? It's
Yeah, pretty much. Like I know that like before, you buy a toy and you'd be able to buy it again, but like once it's out, it's out. What I like to do is use the groups as research. Everyone's talking about this one, it's coming out. I'm gonna
yeah,
buy that one. Yeah,
good
you're
to
using a little bit of educated guessing.
right,
And what I also tell my customers when they're looking at a pack. They're like, I
yeah,
don't know if I'll pull anything good. I'm like, the worst case scenario, you buy a stock and you lose your money, you have nothing. But if you invest in something you like, you still have a piece of art, you still have a toy that you can enjoy.
right. And I've always heard that, right? If you're gonna get into collectibles, buy what you love. Like you said, if it doesn't turn out as something that is a worthwhile investment necessarily, you still have something that you enjoy yourself.
And it could down the road turn into to a big investment like later on, like my Naruto collection wasn't worth very much, but because they didn't make a whole lot of them, there's not a very lot of them. They're worth a whole lot of money. Like even the common ones, like everyone's always after the big shiny one. Those are the
Right.
ones that were worth money, but some of the common ones were worth 10 to 20 bucks because it's like 20 some years old.
Wow. See, I wouldn't have known that. I mean, to be fair, I've not been in the card game at all. I couldn't tell you the first thing of what's popular these days. I've seen some ridiculous things where new cards, like new card sets, and what they'll do is they'll come out with this one of one, right? So
I
back in the
wish
day
I
when
was that one to get that one of one. I'd be rich. I think it was Hamilton, if I'm not correct. Someone got the one ring, sold it for 5 million.
right? Then you do that for all sorts of stuff. Like they'll have like it's all one of one, right? So we're talking about again a lot of these cards. What they'll do is they'll print thousands and millions of them. So we call those the common cards. What the card companies have done to keep people interested is that they'll throw in some very scarce cards. A lot of people I know like the Wayne Gretzky rookie card, for instance. Right? Wayne Gretzky rookie card was printed just as often as every other card in that set, but the one everyone wanted was a Wayne Gretzky rookie card. So you had, say they printed, I don't know, 100,000 of sets of the that include the Wayne Gretzky rookie card, right? So you have 100,000 of those out there, but the demand was high. So now what the card companies have done is they'll still print like, I don't know, now they're printing like maybe 1 million sets, but they'll only print one card of a certain thing, like with the one that you're talking about, the One Ring in Lord of the Ring. Right? They only printed one of those cards. So out of those million sets, million packs, or whatever, there's only one. It's kind of like a lottery, right? Like you buy the winning ticket, but that ticket is worth a couple $1,000,000 because they've manufactured the scarcity. They could easily print a million of these, but they only printed one. Only one person can have it. Only one diehard collector is going to be able to say, I have this in my collection. So no one else can have the full set except that one collector. So there's your scarcity, right? So in those cases, I mean, the condition probably matters a little bit, but because of the extreme scarcity of these cards or of this collectible, it drives up the price automatically. Like I saw one on, I'm an F1 guy, and I saw this kid in Quebec had pulled Lewis Hamilton, one of one, and he sold it on, it was on the Netflix show on Golden. I don't think they gave the number, but it was something like $1,000,000 just for that one card that the kid pulled. Uh, these card packs aren't cheap anymore. When I was a kid, I'd go to the corner store, buy a pack of cards like 25 cents, 50 cents, and it got up to like $1. It came with a peepo, stick of gum, right?
Yeah, I remember back in the day, $20, you can get a couple of comics, a couple of cards, and a couple of toys. And you'd have like a whole bag full, like this much. Now, it's like $20 gets you maybe like
You get like a couple packs of cards, and those packs of cards have like 4 or 5 cards in them. It's crazy. You don't get much. So now you almost have to be an adult in order to collect these things, right? That's the thing. You're pricing the kids out of the market. But that's who they're going after. They're going after the adults who are trying to relive their childhood and who have the money now because they have jobs. Whereas before, when they just had like big roots and just had a couple pennies to rub together, they didn't have much money to spend, so you couldn't charge them much. Now you're looking at the next generation, right? So hey, it is an industry. Whether you love it or hate it, collectibles aren't going anywhere for a while.
And the best thing about it is you can walk into like your local Walmart or wherever that sells collectibles. You can pick that up and sell it for 10 to double the price and make a profit.
Wow. And that's great. Now, again, I'm going to go back to saying you need to know what you're doing. You can't just go in there, buy a bunch of packs of stuff, buy the comics or whatever they have, and hope to turn a profit. You need to know what you're doing. You need to know, like Sean was doing, right? Listen to the community. Listen to what's popular. What do people want? What are they trying to get? You can't get what's scarce, what's in demand. Because without that, you're just buying stuff that anybody can get and or nobody wants. And then it's like anything else. Right? It's like playing the stock market, right? If you go in and buy a bunch of stocks, you don't know anything about those companies, you don't know what you're doing, you can lose your money. Guaranteed. Right? Same thing with collectibles. There's more rough than diamonds, right? So you want to get the diamonds in the rough. So if 99% of the stuff is not going to be super valuable down the road, you need to know how to find that 1% stuff. Same with stocks. The stock market's the same way.
If you go to a local store that's not like a card store, but they have them on the racks, you have a lower chance because they're just randomized, where as in the boxes, you're guaranteed rarity. So it increases your chances, but like you could still get nothing, or you could pull that Charizard, which I pulled.
Oh, yeah? Wow.
I pulled the rainbow, the shiny, and the regular one.
Wow.
And the anniversary one, which looks like the original one.
Yeah.
I'm thinking that one's going to be worth something because, like, all the ones that have come out have been. That's a lot of people's starter Pokemon. That was my starter, so I gravitate towards that card.
Now, okay, you have a bunch of stuff for sale, right? Now, do you try to time it to sell at the peak, or do you just like put stuff out for sale and it sells when it sells?
Sometimes I hold on to certain things, but like if I'll buy like doubles, I'll like hold on to a couple and put a few for sale. And what ends up happening is the ones I sell, I use, I make the money for that. And then like when I hold on to those other sets, I can sell them for like double, triple, if not even.
Okay.
It's like I know my nephew's grandfather bought him $1,000 booster box.
It's not for kids anymore.
Yeah.
Right? What kid can afford that? So you have all this stuff for sale on Facebook Marketplace. You have it on your website. Now, where do you get your stuff from? Do you have like a wholesaler you go to? Just buy retail, buy
I
stuff online?
wish. I wish. It's really hard for someone online unless they've been doing it for a while.
Yeah.
They won't sell it to me, and the ones that do, they sell it for more than what I can get at my local card shop. What I do is I go to my local card shop, I buy a box, and then I sell it for $8, and I make like sometimes $80 to $50 on the box.
Wow, nice. So what's the challenges that you face buying and selling stuff? What makes it hard?
Sometimes you have people that don't want to buy your prices. They'll try to bully you into like selling it for what they think it's worth. But a lot of the problems I notice is that people never take into account when there's like a lot of sites that'll help out with how much something is worth, but that'll say, "Oh, this is the average that it sells for." People forget that to include the exchange rate.
Right,
Because they're like, well, it's only worth $20. I'm like, but with the exchange rate, it's worth like 40. And
right,
then you
right.
got to include the shipping.
Yeah,
Someone was trying to say it's not worth that much. It's worth this on eBay. I'm like, it's worth you're telling me it's $30. It's $30. It's not. Look at the price, convert it. Now look at the shipping.
right,
But then
right.
you'll have a lot of people that'll know the value of things and they'll
Okay,
know that they're getting a good deal.
okay.
And then you'll get the people that want to support local businesses.
That's
Because
always
like the
nice.
smaller card shops also have to sell it for a profit too. So
Yeah.
they also understand that.
So you're selling stuff. All right. So you're selling stuff online, selling stuff at the conventions. You're doing your events. Now, Sean, you were telling me that the next step for you is something pretty big. What's the next big step for you?
Our next big step is we want to open up a gaming restaurant bar, and people are going to be able to come in, and it's going to be like a ticket fee, so an entry fee at a club. You pay
Okay.
$10, you get in, you play as much as you want. There's gonna be a lot of stuff there for sale. We're gonna have like tournament events for card games, video games. We got a lot of celebrity guests coming. The original Ninja Turtles, Dragon
Well,
Ball Z, Nightmare on Elm Street. My friend Ken Sagos, he's doing his first comic book. He's trying to turn it into a movie. I got
sounds
my
nice.
friend from X-Men. He voiced Sauron. He's got his own book coming out that came out. Really good book, Willow's Run. So we plan on like having our opening have all these great guests and then to down the road branch into our own convention.
So
Like
what kind of food are you gonna serve there?
I kind of like I invented my own mix of Asian food. My daughter likes Asian food, so I kind of put twists on it to make it North Americanized, especially
Mhm.
having a lot of picky people.
Right.
I made a pizza sushi with all the ingredients of the pizza in the sushi roll. I made pizza dumplings. People love my Japanese steak and chicken. Like I had one of my friends come up to me because we did a camping trip, and they said, "Oh, you set the bar up for here because they have like
Yeah,
kitchen facility. I'm here to show you guys good cooking." And one of
that's
my
awesome.
friends was like, "I don't eat Asian food. I hate it, but I will eat your food, Sean."
Ha ha ha.
So
There
that
you
kind of
go.
inspired me to want to do this. Like I've invented like cocktails like the Secret of the Ooze cocktail, which actually looks like ooze.
Okay.
And then my favorite is the Dragon of the Darkness Flame from my favorite anime Yu Yu Hakusho, where I make my own liqueur. It's like a dark purple and it has a hint of peppermint and fireball because the main character is both a fire user and an ice user. So I got like the that minty and fiery taste that combines into it, and then I
Yeah.
set it on fire, and it's got that really cool flame.
That sounds like a
And
lot
then
of
we
fun.
got cocktails that change color, which are really cool. I kind of made my art with with liquor. I learned how to make my own liqueur, candy liqueur. I learned how to make my own beer. Everyone likes my cherry beer,
Wow.
and I make honey wine. So that would be the next step after that, to have an on-site brewery. And we're also talking to companies like Brew Donkey that does tours within the city to when we open, so people could
Yeah.
come in and try local beer. First, we're gonna have other local beers exclusively, and then we're going to include ours as well. It'll be completely local beers. And I find local beers are so much better because people put their love into it. Like when, I not to insult my father in law, but he says, I like draft beer. I'm like, in the back of my head, I'm like, that beer is swill.
That's awesome. Wow, this is gonna be quite the facility you got going on.
Yeah.
Now you're in the process of fundraising for this, right?
Yeah, we're starting a crowdfunding on Give Send Go. We're selling off advanced advanced gift cards, so people can get, like, if they spend over like 100, they can get a whole month of gaming. It comes with a game, kind of like how this thing condenses the entry fee, kind of takes a little discount on it. And the way we organize it is that every time they visit with their month pass, it goes
Yeah.
by how many days they go, not the whole month, so they don't lose it. If you bought a pass for a month for a gym and you're sick 2 weeks, you've lost that 2 weeks. Whereas we're giving people a chance to, you're using it for the 30 days. So we're also trying to give people value for their donations. And once we sell out all our gift cards, we're going to be giving away a PS5, or the
Nice.
value of a PS5 if someone wants an Xbox. I'm flexible. I remember when I gave away a Harry Potter, it's not the Hogwarts game. When it
Yeah.
came out, it was like $80. I gave one of those as a prize, and like I gave the gift receipt. You can trade it forever for whatever you want. Once we get more, we're looking at giving away an arcade, and we're looking at doing a Dragon Ball one, having it signed by the cast, and
Wow.
having it on the arcade itself, and possibly a Ninja Turtles one too.
Wow, that sounds really neat. So that's a really exciting project, and I hope that goes really well for you, especially the fundraising aspect. Now, when is the next time that we can catch you? What are the next conventions you're going to be at?
I don't have anything planned yet. We're waiting for next year. So next year we're hoping to be at Montreal. We're hoping to be at Toronto. We're
Okay.
hoping to do more of them.
Yeah.
And I'm also hoping to do the ones in the US. My friend, he's one of the turtles in the suits, and he does his own convention. And he has so many people there. Like, yeah, he's had Chuck Norris at his convention. I'm always talking to people because you never know who you're going to meet. So
Right.
he made the post about asking if anyone knows people. I said, I know people. I gave him a bunch of information. I said, look, I'm not going to charge you, but maybe we can collaborate together because you know so many people and you could help me. I like selling in person. It takes out all that guesswork. People
Yeah.
can touch the thing and say, well, it looks real. I can tell it's
Sean, this is fantastic. I'm happy to hear about all these things you've got going on. You definitely sound very excited and enthusiastic. I see there's a passion there.
I've built so much in the community. We've built our own Facebook group. We've helped out different people with their projects. Because I've been on so many podcasts like this that when my channel started growing, I invited people on my channel. So we're trying to grow to a point where we could start asking for money.
Right.
So that's what we're hoping to do. I also know a lot of other big influencers and actors, and we're trying to use that to like get more sponsors for this event.
Well, Sean, I'm going to thank you for your time. I really appreciate you taking the time out to talk to me about all your stuff you've got going on, for geeking out with me. I really appreciate that. That's always fun for me. And I'm going to wish you really well on that project that you got going on. I really hope.
Yeah, that's what I'm hoping for.
All right. Well, thanks a lot, Sean.
No
I'm gonna
problem.
wish you well, and hopefully we'll be in touch soon.
Yeah, for sure.
All right, thanks. Take care.
Take care.